Really the purpose of gathering the group together was to get a feel for what OER is being used on campus right now, how you can use it in your classroom if you aren't already, and to allow for people just to share best practices. And we had a few people who said that they had meetings and they're going to slip in when they can, so we'll just try to be flexible and keep it somewhat casual and informal. So what I wanted to do here at the beginning, Walter, do you think this would be a good spot just to mention the initiative right now? And this is Walter Butler, who is one of our librarians.
And right now we have an initiative on campus following up with the initiative by the state. Through Senate Bill 798, where they're giving funds to Cal State and to community colleges. If they start to implement a plan to support OER adoptions into their courses. So we're going to apply for this funding. It has to be approved. It needs to get academic senate approval of the plan, which we're putting together right now. Within the plan, we're going to try to identify, as a beginning effort, 50 sections that will try to adopt OER materials for their courses by fall, which is kind of a big push. But if we are able to identify and to get 50 sections on board by that time, we can apply for $50,000 in funding to support professional development that we could then open up to additional faculty members to do future planning. The great thing about this initial launch is that if successful, then we're eligible to get additional funding next year to continue the effort. So we're starting hopefully small and manageable. We're already talking to, or I will be talking to associated students this week about the effort too, so that they can inform the student body on how to access these OER materials once they're implemented in the courses.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Walter about this initiative that's coming up? Okay, one question is how many people are currently using some form of OER within their classrooms? And is everybody clear on what OER is? One of the distinctions that's made is folks who are starting to use it, one of the primary goals is just to save our students money. If we can, and there is a difference between using free materials and open materials in that the open materials have a specific license, which means that you're not going to turn around next semester and find out that they are being charged for it and you can no longer have access to those materials. So if you have access to free materials right now, that's awesome, but then the continuity of it may not be in place, and so that's part of the push to try to switch some of us over to trying OER. And you don't have to use it across the board if you can implement some pieces of it within your classroom to save your students money. That's a wonderful start, and that's really what we wanted to try to talk about in here today. So the plan was just to share best practices, and I had a number of folks who emailed me to say, well, I'll talk about what I'm using briefly. And because we had about 8 people who are planning on coming at one point or another to talk about this, I figure if we can limit it to about 5 minutes and then have some discussion if there's a particular form of OER that you're using that's useful, we'll go ahead and just take volunteers to share what they're using right now. Would anybody like to? Would you like to?
I'm using OpenStack US History textbook, and I'm saving a gazillion dollars. But I don't use it in the classroom. I just have it available. That's all.
Okay. And are you finding that there might be a point at which you might incorporate it as required reading within your?
It is required reading.
Required reading. Okay. Are you finding any challenges that specifically link to using OpenStacks for your course? For history?
I mean, there are always people who complain they don't have the internet, but then I had complaints prior to this that they couldn't afford the textbook. So I feel like it's just a different complaint, but it's not better or worse. We do have I get it, we have internet at the library, we have study labs, so it's,
And Anna,
right here.
right in front of me. Our articulation officer for the college has brought up the point that it would be ideal if we could list our use of OER within our course descriptions. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but since you're the person that we're going to be dealing with to try to get this information to our students.
So I don't have all the answers yet, but the
But
UC,
she's got the questions, which is a
the
good start.
UC and CSU say it's okay to use open ed resources as long as the resource is a stable, bona fide textbook and not just a collection of links to lecture notes or other web pages. So, but I don't have a way to show it in our outline appropriately. I don't know if any of you have anything you could share, because I was mentioning to Susan that maybe we should post something on the curriculum website, like this is how you should list OER in your outline. And then when it's modified, is the author supposed to go back into the outline and put the modification date? I don't know. This is new to me, new to all of us.
The OpenStax textbook is pretty standard. There's a, the way to use it for publication and stuff too. So that should be fairly easy to list on the course outlines. For psychology, I could certainly go and that would be something I could do for psych.
Okay.
And stuff.
Okay, great. How is OpenStack different from other OERs? I don't know. I'm not familiar with OpenStack.
OpenStax is the Rice University. They've culled certain groups of authors and they've published textbooks, grant-funded, very high-end, peer-reviewed textbooks. And they have quite a few, and basically it's through Rice University. That's what I know about OpenStax.
Okay.
How do I access that?
You know what? I get emails from the organization regularly, which I can forward to you. It's the use of the text is open to everybody, but beyond that, is anybody in
So
here?
I just put in OER and I mean, I'm so
OpenStack is OPENSTAX. And it has free textbooks that you just push the button and it opens. And US history, psych, soc, poli-sci, they're almost done, not yet, right? What else?
Statistics, calculus,
Biology is in there as well.
I believe there's anatomy. However, if you go to a site called Cool for Ed, it will also give you the Michigan University site. So basically in the state of California, they've pulled together 50 of the top used lower division courses in order to try to save students money. And it's all framed in we're trying to save students money. But if you look at our personal budget, PCC's budget, we're spending close to $400,000 a year on subsidizing textbooks. If the state of California is doing that at every level, and that doesn't include what the library is paying for textbooks, what every single one of our labs is paying for textbooks, what every single one of our divisions is paying for textbooks. So I'm sure that the state is looking at this as a great way to save money, but it is also a huge equity factor. And for OpenStax, we can get our students printed copies of the textbooks for $23 into the bookstore. So the students that need a printed textbook because they don't have stable internet access or wireless internet access can also get a printed copy that could be funded by the school just the way they're getting their other books funded, but it would be a $23 textbook, not a $270 textbook.
Just by the way, you mentioned that that they're complaining that they don't have online access. You know that they can download the book, a PDF version of the book, and keep it on their computer. So you can download chapters. Julie's made that possible for the site text, and you can have that available as well. But I've had students who wanted a printed copy.
Absolutely.
They realized in the middle of the semester that they wanted something to hold on to still. Millennials too. I was surprised, but.
But as Julie said, it's still a fraction of the cost of the
Absolutely.
glossy, color, printed.
And it is still pretty.
I think
Pretty
it's
good
great.
quality.
Yeah.
That's good to know also.
Yeah. Is there English or no?
I'm sure there are, but not my area, so I haven't particularly, looked in your area, but I'm sure that there must be.
And what is your name? I'll send, are you on the registered list? Because I can send out some of the websites that are, yeah, the links in order to allow you just to take a look for your own courses.
Yeah, Emily Fernandez.
Okay, okay. So we've got a list coming around. If you're not on that, if you can just go ahead and add your name to the list so we can keep the communication going. And is there anybody else who wanted to share anything that they're using within their class right now? Yeah.
Math isn't using official OpenStack, but we've taken to writing our own textbooks, and we have them printed in the bookstore, and they range from about $20 to $30. And so that's what we're doing to get the book to do exactly what we want it to do, and save the students a ton of money.
And even with OpenStax, or rather with OER, that's something that I didn't realize was available, is you can access these materials, modify them to your own needs, and that's legal, and you can then provide that to your students as well. So if you don't have the time or interest to write your own book at this point, that's also a nice option. Are there any other questions in terms of challenges that you might face taking this on? I think one that does come up in biology is the concern about how up-to-date the materials are. If you take a look at some of our lead publishers, they put out a book every roughly 3 years, right, Joe? Roughly every 3 years.
Right.
And it's a huge expense to our students, but we count on that continuity that they've done the work, and that has been a concern. But a group within the Cal State system has put together the Merlot Collection, which has reviews by faculty that may be familiar to you, that you can read through their reviews as to what their take on some of these materials is as well. Yes?
Well, I don't know how appropriate it is for other departments, but in math, there's also an open math site that's very much like the online support that comes with a traditional textbook from a big name publisher. And so there are open, My Math Lab or Alex, things like that are open source as well now, so that you don't have to give up that tech aspect of your book if other departments have that.
And recently at a conference that we had attended, just a workshop, there was one of the folks who was involved with this initiative have brought up, she teaches statistics, and she brought up giving up some of the, as you said, the tech components that go with our publishers. She said that she is using her own book, which is open to anybody to use, but she still has maintained the digital electronic component at a much reduced cost, and they are available. And that's the other thing, that it would be nice to be able to share some of those resources that are available, that she said it works just as well as some of the ones that she used with the publisher, but it doesn't cost the students $50 to $100 per semester. It's along the lines of $20 to $30. Anybody else have anything that they're doing in their classroom right now in terms of, doesn't have to be the use of textbooks through OER, but anything that is saving their students some money in a different form?
Mine's pretty specific, but I teach English, and I teach an anthology about youth violence, but it covers like sociological, psychological, literary elements. It's published by DePaul University Press, and it's free. You can go to their website and request they send you a hard copy, or you can go to the website and download the PDF. They have several books, and it's called Big Shoulders Press via DePaul University, but just an anthology about youth violence, specifically in Chicago, but in my English classes we write about it in terms of region and focus on LA and how this might look differently. So lots of things: gender, race, politics, family, youth, lots of topics to work with.
And in this case, where does the funding come from?
It's through DePaul University,
Okay.
a grant that they have, and it's always free. They update the editions, so it's cool. It's very journalistic too, so it works well.
Can you say how much does it cost to students? How
Free.
much? It's free?
Yeah, I can go on as an educator and request like 65 copies, and they'll send me a box full of the books. It takes a few weeks, but if you just request one book, each student comes in like a week or two. And then
And is it available for other subjects, or the grant was for this topic specifically?
The grant was for this topic specifically to raise awareness about violence. But there's one that just came out about veterans
Okay.
that I just requested to be sent to, so I haven't read it yet, but.
Good. I'll follow up with you to get the details so we
Yeah, I
can
can
send that
send
out to the
that
group. Very good. Anybody else using any form of OER that they would like to share details about? We wanted to try to keep this informal in terms of giving everybody an opportunity to share what they are using. And Joe?
The question, and so the OER, the main thrust is the saving the students money. That's the main reason.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and so what the acronym stands for is Open Educational Resources, and the key part of this that I see is really the fact that the licensure is set up in this open framework so that anybody can make use of these materials, can modify it, and that's quite new for most of us who are used to using a textbook that is quite a bit more expensive and we have less control over. Yes?
I was wondering, for the math department, did you receive stipends or any kind of money to grade these books?
Yes and no.
Okay.
We've done 3 of them, and for the first one, no, we just did it because I wanted to do it.
Okay.
And then the second 2 was part of our redesign for our basic skills courses, and so that we had some outside funding. It wasn't from PCC, it was a type of
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Student equity money?
Thanks for showing up. We're trying to get everybody.
Student equity
have
money
copies
cannot pay
just for the
taxes.
sake of recording this for folks who can't be here.
Trivia.
So we've got a few more folks who have just joined us, including James, who's in between some projects and was willing to share some of the work that he's been doing. And I know you need to get back, right, over to another project. Did you want to catch your breath and then?
That would be great. That would be great.
Join us, and whenever you're ready, we're just trying to hold it as an open exchange of ideas and resources and options. So there is a list coming around. If you can just sign in on there, some of the details that are coming out, I'll just try to send a follow-up to everybody who's here so that some of the references that are being made you'll have in writing. And who has just joined us, we're just starting to talk about some of the OER that's being used in some of the classrooms right now. I should have asked that you identify yourself by name for the group and what department you're from. And you had said your name was?
Caitlin Cunningham.
Caitlin,
English.
and from English, and?
Susie from history.
Okay, and?
Linda from math.
Linda from math, okay.
May I just ask, since I missed the presentation, are any of you doing entirely open OER? You are, okay, great. I'm just wondering if that's working for you. Yes, okay. So you two will tell us about your experiences.
Anybody else have any questions specifically? And what is your name?
Dolores Hopkins from Speech and Communication.
Okay.
I'm just wondering what other than textbooks are people using or what would they use?
Anything other than textbooks? Well, individual publications as well. It may not be in a formal textbook, but if you're looking at the use of some case studies, which we've used in biology as well, where it's not a formal textbook, but it might be something we would incorporate into a lab.
What is the online homework aspect of it?
Would any media be included in this?
Has anybody used any media? I know we heard about some that was being used, and in what form I can't answer to. But in speech and communication, is there one particular format that you think might be useful?
Well, textbooks, and I'm also thinking perhaps media.
TED Talks would
TED
be
Talks,
a good media for speech.
Do you mind if I try to just plug it in?
No, go ahead. Hook it up, yeah. Yeah.
What all the technology you guys have? So much more sophisticated.
Well,
Caltech class.
I was going to say, I live down in the Science Village, and this is a very nice space to work in, so. This is James, and he was going to share what
I'm
he's
sorry
been
if I
using.
seem flustered. I'm just, I usually teach Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9:30 a.m. calculus, the one for the business majors. So in one semester, I'm supposed to teach calculus 1, 2, and 3, basically cram that in and do business applications. So I use an open educational resource. After I finish at 9, I go over to Caltech, and I work for the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Outreach. Back in the day, I was a grad student. Now, I work for the center, and so we're very focused on teaching strategies, engagement, and focusing. I mean, the thing about educational studies is that, sorry, I don't mean to go off on a tangent, is it's kind of hard, it's like murky, the educational research, but we know that if you engage students, you increase learning. And so I'm all about that, especially at 7 a.m. trying to teach business majors that are taking the last advanced math class they need before they can transfer to buy into math. And so this Skies app at the bottom is called Skies. There's a, I'll just put in my password here. There's this is a free app. My friend Julius, who's the program manager at Caltech, designed it. So you tell us feedback, we'll put it into the app. So we're considering this still in beta, even though it's been approved by the App Store. We just haven't formally released it. But if you guys are interested, I'd be more than happy to come do a more formal workshop where we can show you how you can use it. But let's just see if you're actually interested. So I was running from a school this morning. So I use this for all of my teaching and educational outreach. So rather than describing what I was doing, I'm actually just going to show you. I was over at Jackson working on ecosystems with third graders. So if third graders can use this app, I guarantee you will have no problem learning how to use this app and your students can do it. And so I was kind of walking around taking videos. They're building plaster of Paris ant habitats because they're studying ecosystems. So I kind of like this app because I can basically, you can think of this like as a PowerPoint, right? Here's a PowerPoint, and I'm talking, and I'm lecturing, and eventually you're going to fall asleep. Okay, but the nice thing about this app is that it's non-linear. So I can have the main things I want to teach up here on the main path. And you can make everything easily within the app. But if you guys don't have PowerPoints because you've taught classes before, you can just upload your PowerPoints and then say, oh, at this point, right here, I'd like to have a break. Okay, so like right here, maybe what I'm going to do is post a question and ask students a question. What did you learn, right? And then the students in my class have iPads. So we have a cart of iPads in the art building. We have 40 of them. And I'm the only one that uses it right now in the morning. So, I mean, there's a lot of iPads all over the campus. So what happens is the students, they've got an iPad. They're logged in. On the first day of class, I give them a little intro. I'll show them like the QR code. And they just, go like this. And then, so Albert Einstein is in my roster now. So they're taken to the class. And so, Albert Einstein says that, what did I learn? I learned, where did I post that question? So, do something like this. What is this system? Different parts. So has anyone ever used clickers? This is kind of like it's got clickers. So you could do a survey, which is anonymous, or you could do, see the matching, the multiple. Oh, I'm showing you the wrong one. Sorry. Sometimes that happens. I have multiple devices, and my students are like, I can't see what you're doing. What I did was I just put a response in here. Right. So you could put like, I don't know, right? And then can living things change the habitat? I don't know, maybe yes. I got it right, So what I do in my class is, so then later you can go back and actually look at some analytics and see what this means. So Albert said different parts. I said I don't know. Let me actually show you what this looks like in my calculus class. So this is my morning calculus class. So this is 7 a.m. This is the format that I've settled on. I notice a lot of my students have math anxiety. So this is the format. Questions go here. So these are just a bunch of questions that they asked, and then I posted the answers. You can post links, YouTube videos, TED Talks. You can just embed that. YouTube videos. So they've got these questions. They post the questions. I'll work the question. I'll take a picture. And then later they can access it online and review it. Sometimes students answer other students' questions, which is awesome. So I can hit this analytics button and actually see how many of my students are answering the quiz cards, how many of the students are rating the cards, and if and also making cards. So I actually have a more quantitative measure of class participation. Come to class, 100 points. Rate all my cards. Do now. You get to class, kids at 7 a.m. I give them a little bit of slack if they're taking the bus and they show up 10 minutes late. So the first thing they do is they get their iPad and they go, 5, I understand that. Grades, 4. Homework due, 5, I get this. This morning, what radio stations do you want to listen to? We have speakers in my class. So I'll let them request stuff, and then I'll roll the dice and I'll pick a music. So it just makes it more relaxed. We've got music going in the background. What do you want to learn? What do you want sign language to be for the day? This is something I've picked up since I've had a son. He's 3.5. We learn sign language together just for fun. He's not deaf. His hearing's perfect. It helps. It always helps communication. Kids never default to sign language because it's easier. It's its own language. So what I do is every day I teach kids a little bit of sign language. Some of the sign language we use in class. Accident, please, thank you, these sorts of things. And they have fun. It wakes them up. It's an easy way to participate. Now that they've already participated, they start participating more. For math people, do you know LaTeX? Yes. LaTeX typesetting? You can just type directly. So, I can just I would never ever dream of making a PowerPoint and with math because the equation editor is such a pain. But if you look at the bottom there, I can just type equations and they just appear. Magic. So anyway, so basically this is what I do. I have questions, and then my students do the questions and take a picture of their work and post it in real time in class. And then I say, okay, well, let's do it. Okay, I love how you're doing the limit now. I do this so that you can't even see their username. No one knows who Madrid is. Doesn't matter. I only say positive stuff. So we have a positive environment. We're all helping each other. Great, I like how you did this. Okay, be careful. Infinity is not a number. It's a concept. So don't. It'd be better if you put a B instead of infinity. Oh, this is great. I like how you're using blah, 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 blah. That's great, great, great. You're all great. I love all of you. Fantastic. Thanks for coming to class. So, this is all the work they're posting, all this work. We're doing Lagrange. And then at the end of class, I say, give me your feedback. And then I look at the feedback. So, music was great. Cool, they like the music. So, anyways. Questions?
Are there things embedded in here that you want them to access outside of class? Because you mentioned you could put TED Talks in there.
Yeah, so I try to flip my class, but I'm not so optimistic to think that I can completely flip my class. So I still have a lecture on the main path. We're flipping the class because we're working lots of problems. Another piece of research that's really helpful, cognitive load. Every 15 minutes, if you take a 2-minute break, grades go up by about a letter. It's a robust finding. So I try to stay true to that. Every 10 to 15 minutes, sometimes I go over, but I take a 2-minute break, sometimes it turns into 3 minutes. With a 2.5-hour class, most kids say, oh, can we start late? Can we leave early? Can we have a big break in the middle and no one comes back? No, I just take 2 to 3 minutes, which turn into 5-minute breaks every 10 to 15 minutes. So I tell them, I don't really rely on them. Usually my lectures go up the day of, but then they can go back and review it. They can review it. If they don't have an iPad or an iPhone, they can go to the web version and they can see everything.
And follow-up question, at what point in class and what are the students doing when you're playing music? I just inspired.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so we've got this thing, right? So I plug it in. I'm not scared of technology. I'm an experimentalist, right? I'm a scientist, so I don't care if I fail and I just try again. So I have an Apple TV so that I can actually unplug this and walk around with my iPad. And so I just broadcast through my Apple TV. I just play Pandora in the background. Every 10-15 minutes when we take that 2-minute break, I just roll the dice, pick a new station, and play it, and just turn it down a little bit. And if it's, today someone requested Brian Bieber, that only lasted during the introduction. I couldn't take him going. But then other stuff's pretty slow, it's too distracting. Sometimes people are like, this is distracting, sure. It's just going on in the background. You just adjust this volume, and the volume of the iPad. It's great. More than happy, if you guys are interested to share this, because it seems like we got iPads around. Oh, and humanities people, we actually have lots of examples. We do summer enrichment programs, and we love incorporating humanities. Scientists have to write. We've got these humanities activities One of the ones that's most popular is writing a story, storytelling. And what we do is we tell them parts of a story. The students start making a story, and then they attach to their card. So each thread is a different story. They attach their card every day, they set up the system, and then they're like, okay, I'm ready to add my twist. And then we say, no. Go into someone else's story and add a new branch. So they come over here and they actually add a new card. And they sabotage someone else's story. And then they go back and they see like, oh, what did you do to my story? And I have to resolve it. So we do lots of writing and storytelling. You watch a TED Talk and then post your reflection. The nice thing I like about this is that you have your lecture. It can still be your PowerPoint. Just upload your PowerPoints and add a couple questions. But then, yeah, you can, you have the student work embedded. So you have to work with it. Sorry, I thought I was getting cute. And anyone else like?
So you're saying this is OER?
Yeah, this is free. It's open by default. All of the lessons that you create are open and public. But you saw how I put Albert on my roster? He's a student, so his work is not shown. So if I go in and I'm like, I want to get some lessons ideas from you, I can see your lesson, but I don't see all your students' work. If I want to know, like, how did your students do? You could say, oh, let me add you as an observer. And then I could actually see your students' work. So students' work is protected. Yeah. That's what you're interested in.
Called Sky, is that what you said?
Yeah, Skies, S-K-I-E-S. Yeah, that's a backward name. But it works out great, because like when the Courier wrote an article, they're like, always, Skies, you know, same thing. Oh, that's really cool.
So you just go to the web and search for Sky, is that it?
Yeah, if you wanted to download this and start playing around with it, then all you do is you go to skieslearn.com. So that's the website. Hopefully this will pop up. Yeah, wow, this is great. It just works. Skieslearn.com. You go to skieslearn.com and you sign in, you register, you sign in, and I think it says right there at the very bottom you can download the app here. So if you go there, it takes, these are the instructions. So it says hit the blue link to download it. Because you're downloading it directly from us, the developer, you have to input the username and password. It's written right there on the website, Skies, TMNT Pizza. You know how old we are now. And then you actually have to go into your settings and say, I trust this app. Okay, you can trust me.
And so that's only for the iPad?
It's for the iPad, any iDevice. But if you go to this website, right, if you go to this website, you can view everything through the website. You can also add stuff to the website. I'd recommend that you maybe look at it in both versions. The website, we're trying to improve and make it look, like the iPad, but right now it kind of looks a little bit more like Canvas. You can click a plus button to add a card, but then if you look at it in Skies, it'll be a real card.
Would it be probably worthwhile because you have so many moving pieces, that we can maybe request a more formal kind of discussion?
Yeah, I'd love to. If you guys are interested, I'd love nothing more than to show you how to get started and use it. We can roll the card to iPads over. Whenever we do workshops, it's everyone gets an iPad. Well, for that workshop, we can do. So it's fun.
Do your students get the iPads?
No, every day I roll in the cart from the second floor to the third floor. It's not that hard. I just open up the cart while I'm polishing up my lecture. They're just getting it out, rating all the cards. That takes them 10 to 15 minutes. Then they start just working on questions to start posting stuff.
They're using all the iPads in
They're
class?
using the iPads in class, and then they're done.
That's just for the art department, you said? Or is that
Well, in R, we have a card that I got through business. Solomon, Dean Solomon, he helped me write a grant. We got funded, so we got 40 that sits in our building that for business and CTE. But we know how to share, so I'm sure if we have some motivated faculty, we can share them. I'm just, as long as you're not teaching from 7 to 9:30, please.
And James, I was going to say we had a request for the question that was before Joe's, which I think came from over here. Does anybody remember who asked the question before the previous one?
So you asked a question, then you asked
I just missed this gentleman's question right here.
Oh, Joe.
Okay. I was just asking if you would be available to formally teach us, formally. Is that
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And my son, he's 3.5, like I said, he's saying like, a little bit, is it just a little bit? So I can show you how to get started, just a little bit, and then you can add in all the layers and the bells and whistles. Yeah.
We'll set up a time for James to come back and tell us more, perhaps at the beginning of the semester in fall.
Anytime, you know, summer. I'm just doing
And you
programs for
mentioned Caltech.
Yeah.
In terms of, so Sky is created by Caltech.
Well, it's created by a bunch of Caltech alumni.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you work in
The Center for Teaching, Learning, and Outreach. We call it the CTLO.
Center for Teaching and Learning.
Outreach. I'm one of the outreach guys. Me and Julius, James and Julius, JJ, we're the outreach guys.
Is
So
that was that evolution from Seed? I think the Seed.
Yeah, Seed. Yeah, I worked for Seed back in the day. I worked with Seed, supporting science for district, and so evolution. All that has informed what we do and how we teach, active learning, all that stuff.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I'm sorry. I mean, all this plaster. I was working with third graders, so
Okay.
And that's what I'm going back to make.
Thanks for joining us for that.
No, thank you so much for organizing this and the space. And this is real. I'm glad we're building this community. So we're all about trying to share lessons and help each other.
You mentioned that all the eyes can, so iPhone okay?
iPhone's great. Yeah, iPhone works, which is great because I was just in Japan and I couldn't teach my class for a week. So I taught it using Skies and a robot. I had a robot in my class rolling around. I got permission from the dean. And I was going through customs for like 2 hours and I was freaking out because I had to get home by 11 p.m. to teach my class here at 7 a.m. And so I just put together my lesson on my phone real quick and copied cards from previous semester, modify things. Yeah, so you can do wait in the checkout line, reviewing students' work.
Great. Any other questions for James before he has to scoot back across the street? Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. I'm sorry I can't participate in the rest of the discussion, but
We'll be doing this
one.
again now
That's
that we
great.
have kind of a sense for the types of questions and what the interest is. We've got minutes before another class is going to be coming in
On the
here.
table, you're leaving your, you're leaving your connector. Look a little farther. There you go. No, right there.
And this is.
That's
yours.
mine.
This is
Yeah,
a
that's
different one.
mine,
Okay.
so we're good.
Okay.
And then I have mine. They look similar.
Yeah. Well, unless there are any other questions, we'd like to continue with this discussion now that we have kind of a feel for. There were some folks who were going to attend to share as James has, and a couple didn't show up, and I think it's that point in the semester, or else they got concerned that they didn't have adequate things to share, and I think whatever you can share with the group is useful to all of us. I'll follow this up with an email to everybody who is listed on here with some of the details that were discussed today, so I'll make sure that I've got the information from those who have shared. Any questions that you might have specifically that we might be able to address the next time we meet, perhaps in a quieter room? Becky, was there anything else you wanted to share?
I don't think so. Just, I've been looking for other materials for classes other than psychomath, but I have not been very successful.
And the Merlot Collection may be a good one to start with, but I'll add that link onto the message that will come out, so that may be helpful. Yes?
May I ask for those of you who are using it exclusively, is it working? Do your students like it? Are they learning?
So, I've been using it for a year now. This is the end of my first year. All of my students and all of my classes are on Canvas and have OER textbooks. I found it particularly great in the higher level class because I was able to layer the textbooks. So I teach research methods, but sometimes they don't have their introductory textbook anymore. So I was able to layer another textbook in there where I could never have said to them, if you need an intro text, run to the bookstore and buy one. So there are things that you can do with OER that you can't do with regular textbooks. But the research on OER, it's been around since about 2007, is that students who use high-quality OER peer-reviewed textbooks do at least as well and sometimes better than students who get their textbooks from the typical sources. So it's not that we're losing any success or retention this way. If anything, we can gain success and retention. We will not lose success and retention.
I have a question. How do you teach annotation with that? Because I teach reading English, we really do focus a lot on annotation and that. So I was just wondering if people have experimented with that, asked their students to do that.
I've recently learned that I went to a workshop where we learned how to do that on a PDF. So if it's a PDF, there's ways to highlight and put comments. I mean, for me personally, I mean, I like technology, but I still feel like it's a little bit clumsy. It would take a little bit of practice. There might be a little bit of a learning curve at first, but if you get used to it and you convey that to the students, they might, you know, pick up on it and be able to do it. The other thing that I'm thinking too, for myself, I would like, if I get a calculus class in the fall, which I'm hoping, I want to use OER for the first time in that class of the entire text, you know. And I'm thinking of having it printed by the bookstore at a very, very low cost, which would be a huge savings from what they would be paying for the textbook. So even if you decide to have it printed by the bookstore, it would be like maybe 20, 30 bucks to the student rather than whatever larger amount they would probably pay. And then you can do the annotations that way. And then any supplemental texts, you could probably provide them electronically, I'm thinking. I'm Richard from Math.
Okay, very good, thank you.
I guess I also really like the idea of using like PDF versions and then, you know, annotating in there maybe too. Because I know that we can do that in Canvas with their work, right? When they have like a Word document that they've uploaded and we can annotate and put comments and stuff inside there. I'm assuming we should probably be able to do that with PDF. I haven't tried it myself though, so I don't have it in the past.
Yeah, I guess that, and then how do you have a conversation if you're like, let's turn to page so-and-so and analyze this quote or this passage, or working groups and find a passage that represents the main idea you're trying to do? I guess those are my bigger questions. How do you actually use those textbooks in the classroom? Those are something, I guess, later questions I would like to have answered and to see.
They always have technology. Somebody, I mean, typically they come well armed. They're more like James was than the rest of us. They'll have their cell phone, they'll have their pad, and they'll have their laptop. They're ready to talk about it online.
It gives them the flexibility to interact with the materials as they're comfortable. I mean, in math, we have some students who want that paper book, and we have other students who are perfectly happy reading the problems, you know, on their tablet or on their phone or on their laptop. And so you just have to be willing to let them use their technology in the classroom, or require that they buy the paper version, which is still much cheaper than a regular textbook. But it really gives them the freedom to interact with it in various methods.
Also, when it gets to finding stuff, like, you know, in an informal setting at book clubs and stuff, if we had the electronic version, it would be much easier to search for what you might be looking for, right? Within a chapter, or even within the entire book. Because actually that causes some problems when I have open book exams or stuff like that. I'm like, I'm sorry, you can't use the electronic version because then you'd be searching really easily.
Well, that was, I don't want to interrupt you, but on that thought, that was a problem that was posed by the folks who are trying to support OER, is that if you do have an open note exam and it's not a paper book, it's a computer, then the added issue is students can communicate with each other within the classroom at the same time, and that's something to think about,
right,
or
and
at least
also
be aware
within the
of.
book itself. Like, I don't want them to be able to search, because you can turn off the internet presumably or whatever, but you can't.
Right.
You can't get them to not be able to search that.
Right, right. Joe, did you have?
Joe Connor from Natural Sciences. I don't know what we call ourselves these days. It's you know, and
the village people.
Yeah, village people. I sense that there's so much talent we have on the campus. We need like a stipend-based training where we come in for a couple of days. Someone like James, I would have never knew he existed. And then other people talking about all this, because there's so much stuff going on and so many resources. If we had a stipend where we would come and then we can share and have an outline, as well as having a meeting again, like we're doing here, but have some kind of regular time where we can actually hands-on kinds of stuff would be very helpful, because to some of you use this stuff it's just like breathing, but we need, I think, more it's like his son, 3-year-old son, just a little bit.
Well, Joe, that's kind of the plan. This is the start of the discussion, but if we can follow this up, we'll bring James back in early fall when folks are back here, or if he's available in the summer.
No, I'm just thinking if we actually talk about in the foundation to actually have stipends, serious stipends for us to come in and get time out of our normal schedule and get, you know, stipend-based training, and this kind of thing would be something that would be worthwhile for the foundation to go after a grant for $20,000-$30,000 for training the people, get stipends to get, so we can be better instructors and use available technology and be upgradable. I think that would be something.
It's a good suggestion. We've got a few minutes left. If there's anything anybody wanted to bring up, Richard?
On that same note, I think doing something like that toward the end of the summer might be great, because I personally like to have time to digest something I'm learning new and wanting to adapt to my practice before school starts, if I'm actually going to give it an honest try. And you mentioned about having a periodic thing, something we like on a regular basis. A lot of us in our department have been talking about doing lunch and learns. We used to do lunch and learns a long time ago, but right now, I don't know about other divisions, other departments, but the way our teaching schedules are set up, we have very little time to meet during that lunch hour. I don't know if other divisions and departments have that experience, but I just, this is me dreaming big. Like, I wish we had some way to align our schedules so that we could have some time set aside to do these kinds of things. It's just something for us to think about. I don't know how it would happen, but I think something like that would greatly facilitate us having these kinds of conversations and sharing with each other. And I think it's so important. I mean, so much more important than, well, I mean, it's just really important.
I would agree with you, Richard, and I would say we do have 2 flex days coming into this next year, so we can, you know, some of that time can be used for this, but it would be nice to have just a collection of folks who are interested in pursuing some of these interests that we could come together regularly.
Yeah, to echo that, I'm thinking that if James can make like a couple or series of the, you know, how to start it, and because I think this is new, because it is developed by them.
Right.
And so that there will be more faculty to join, because it's very hard for people to have the same time, and especially if you need some sessions to get, you know, used to the whole practice. Yeah. Well,
So Canvas is helpful for these instructions, so perhaps we can start in that direction as well. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll try to follow this up, and we'll be in communication with you shortly. Thank you very much.